It's Matthew Lee with the Tao of Kung Fu here in San Francisco, and today I'm here a little early before my Tai Chi morning class, and I wanted to do a little talk about some of the unique Tai Chi skills that you don't read about in books, and I really don't see a lot of teachers actually teaching it. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention. This first video is going to be about your eye focus. So in meditation, a lot of times when your eyes are open, you're going to be focusing on a specific point, a specific spot. It could be a part of the body that you're gazing into, like your hand, or maybe an injury, like a knee or a back or something like that. It could be a focal point like a candle, or a tree, or a creek, or something of that nature. So even in yoga, when you're doing every position, there is something they call, I think it's called a drishti, that is a focal point where you're gazing into. And it helps with your balance and with your energy flow and your body alignment. And it helps you kind of seek inside to know just naturally the alignment and help you with your strength of your posture. And so Tai Chi is very much the same way Bagua and Xingyi are as well. Even in modern Wushu, as well as the classical Kung Fu styles, you see particular points where they're looking off into the distance. And then they'll do a move and look, right? So everything has got a specific focal point where to direct your gaze. So Tai Chi is not any different. One of my all-time favorite movies is called 36th Chamber of Shaolin, which is an old Gordon Liu movie from about 40 years ago. And it was a Shaw Brother film that was depicting temple life. And this it was one of the first of its genre, which was like one of the old revenge movies where the person had horrible things happen to them, whether it was in the temple and all the monks got destroyed or the temple got destroyed, or it was an individual who got to go to the temple and train. So it follows this monk through his training, and he has to go through every level of training at the temple. So if you haven't seen it, it's an amazing movie. Over here in the States, when it was released, it was called Master Killer. But the more traditional name and the more influential name for the spiritual side of the training and the more esoteric side of the training was the 36th Chamber of Shaolin. So check it out with Gordon Liu. One of the exercises they had him do, they put him in a dark room and they had two big sticks of incense, like huge, that were pointing right on each side of his face. And they had a metal ball or something like that swinging in front of him, and they were shining the light on it. So he was seeing candlelight come off of it as it reflected. And his initial reaction was to turn his head when they told him to follow the movement of it, and he would touch the incense stick and it would burn him, right? So they're teaching him to keep his head still and to just follow with his eyes, to remain calm and have his eye focus. And so when he mastered that, people would move this way and he wouldn't turn his whole head and then be blind from the side. He would just notice it here or here, but his peripheral would still carry him. And later on, they didn't show, but later on, you actually want to where you're not moving your eyes at all, and you're just gazing off at a particular area of your opponent or a particular area near, and you see all of their movement from their feet to their head. So if a foot moves, you know how to react properly, and if an arm moves, you know how to react properly. If another individual joins the fight, you can settle and learn how to react against two or more individuals. So the eye training brought this calmness to an altercation, to a fight, and to your own self and well-being. So the eye training was really, really important. So now, let's take a look at some of the different kind of loose rules of the eye gaze while you're doing Tai Chi or Bagua. So, if you're just in a square stance, and you're relaxed and stacked and balanced, the whole body is using as little muscle as possible, like your rising position. Once you're here and you're breathing in, you want to think about this window that starts about the ribs and ends about the head. Usually your arms don't go higher than the brow point or the temple point. And usually the hands don't go lower than there's definitely times when that's not the case. You do drop lower or you do go higher, but for a general rule, that's it. It's a loose rule once again. So, when your hands are doing the same thing, like your initial position of rising, or say your opening position of like a Bagua form, your hands are doing the same thing. Your eye focus is going to be using the peripheral in between the two. So you focus here loosely. And then you're catching the vision in between the two hands and focusing right there. And the eyes follow it, but once it drops down below that window, outside the shoulders or above or below those points, your peripheral vision focuses it. So here it's in the peripheral, here your eyes catch it and follow it. And it's loosely focused on something like right in between the two hands. Then you drop it and let the peripheral watch it again. So I'm focusing on it down here, but only with the peripheral. So just to make sure you can see the eye movement, I'm going to get closer to the camera. We'll pretend my legs are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So as I'm rising, I'm watching it in the peripheral, and then when it gets rib height, I catch it, and the eyes follow it. I start my exhale and sinking movement. The eyes are still following it, and then they let go, and I'm following it with the peripheral, just like that. So practice that maybe 10 times to get your eyes used to it, because the gaze is really tricky. It's one of the most difficult things to do throughout the whole form, next to the fluid movement, the balance, and the breathing. So now if the hands are doing something, they're not doing the same thing, then the rule changes. You're following what's called the hand that's more yang, which is the hand that's doing the major movement, or possibly doing the more aggressive movement. So you wouldn't be following, you're either following, if both hands are being defensive, the more stronger defensive hand, or the closer defensive hand. It might be following one higher, or the one that's doing closer to the opponent, or doing the more major movement. So to give an example of that, for like holding ball, this one's going to be the initial hand blocking an oncoming punch. So you're blocking to the outside. And so this is going to be the hand that you're watching with the gaze. So from here, after you're here, say, you're going to come up, and as soon as it comes to the rib height, your eye catches it, and you're watching here. And you come to your holding ball, just like that. And then say you're going to step out and do brush the knee and press, you would just follow it the whole way. This hand is more yin because it's doing a defensive motion, and this one is yang, it's doing more a strike. So, say you're doing something purely defensive, like play guitar, right? You're catching and you while you're locking a wrist and an elbow. So this one, say the punch is coming in and you cover the wrist, right? And at first, the hands are doing something the same, so the gaze is in between the two. You cover the wrist, but you catch the elbow as you sink back. And this is where the vision is going to be, is on the hand that's catching the elbow. And that way, you're sure you're on the elbow. You know where this one is because you can feel it. The elbow is the important part to trap it. So it's helping you focus on what's important as well, just like that. So you would be here in between the two as one goes down to the wrist and one goes up to the elbow. You're going to be there. This is something that you really have to go through your form. It's a major investment for homework for yourself to improve your training. So you really have to go through your entire form and find out where the yang movement or the more major movement is that your eye focus needs to be on. But this will help you incredibly. You won't imagine the training. If you get used to this, it'll take maybe a month of doing this every day with your Tai Chi or your Bagua form. And you'll be noticing the slightest little movement. Spider right up above the camera, I just saw it move. The thing on the clock over here is moving, the second hand, right? And so you see all of this movement everywhere out in nature. You'll notice all the leaves in the trees with the slightest breeze, the grass moving, little animals, as you'll see ants and beetles and all sorts of stuff flying through the air, hummingbirds. One just flew past the window. So there's a lot of cool stuff this will help you with visually. In an altercation where this works good is it keeps you from being focused when a person moves his foot. Oh, he was just stepping, but over here he was kicking. To where you can just gaze and kind of unfocus and look at one spot and see every little bit of movement. And that'll be priceless to you in a situation like that. So try this training and see how. Let's do a first couple of movements of our form and we'll kind of get through this and see how it goes. So from here, gaze is forward downwards, kind of out at a long angle towards the ground. And we drop. Rising, it's in the peripheral. Catch it. Follow it, and sink. As we switch, catch it, and open. Step out here, briefly, it's going to switch to the second one. Stepping out. It's going to switch to the right hand. Circle. Still in the right hand. Then it's going to go where the two would be touching, like we're looking through the back of this hand. In between the two. Single whip position, that's the more yang movement, and then this one. So try that out with your form. Best of luck with the training. As always, give us a like and a share. I'm loving the comments that I've been getting lately. Thank you everybody for participating with the site. Be sure, stay tuned and check out, subscribe to us. I'm going to have a lot more videos soon. As always, thanks for watching.